Hi, my name is Kate Tompkins. I'm a therapist in Nova Scotia, and I have a question for you. Is it possible you might be wondering, I wonder if my relationship is actually abusive? Or perhaps you already know that it's abusive, but you don't know how to get away from it. You don't know how to break free from it. Well, first of all, I want to tell you that you are not alone. You are not to blame. You are not crazy. You are not a hopeless nutcase. You are not in some, really horrible situation that couldn't ever possibly be fixed. You do have the power to transform your relationship. You do have the power to break free from abuse and to create a wonderful, new, happy, safe life for yourself. And these three free training videos in this series will help to start you down the path to that freedom and that happiness. Now, just for a moment, imagine. Imagine no more walking on eggshells. Imagine no more worrying about what you're going to face when you come home through the door. Will it be a smile and a hug and a kind word, or will it be the back of a fist? No more using makeup to hide bruises. No more lying to co-workers about missed work or lying to friends about why you haven't been in touch. No more avoiding social activities because you're not sure what he's going to do or say in front of your friends, or even worse, perhaps later after you get home. No more hiding in precarious places. You can get your life back. You can be the woman that you knew and respected before. Now, I've been a therapist for 50 years, and I've also been an adult educator for much of that time as well, and I've taught many courses. One of the courses that was most popular was basic counseling skills, which I taught to frontline workers such as shelter workers, social workers, drug and alcohol counselors, child protection workers, union reps, people like that. I also have taught basic listening skills to people who just wanted to be able to help out their neighbors and their friends over a cup of coffee at the dining room table. And I've helped people set up shelters, especially in small, isolated northern communities. And I have trained their staff and their volunteers as to how to help women who are stuck in abusive relationships in their communities. Now, I came to this because I myself was in an abusive relationship. I grew up in a very safe, protected, loving home, and I never learned the concept of saying, no, don't treat me that way. I never learned the concept of boundaries because I never needed to. So when I got out into the big bad world and discovered that not everybody is going to treat me with love and care, it was quite a shock. And I found that I had no idea how to respond when I found myself in an abusive relationship. I had no idea what to do or how to say it. I had deliberately closed my eyes to the signs that were there in that man that would have told me, if I'd paid attention to them, that this man was not who I thought he was. And it was not too long before our relationship was a full-fledged abusive relationship. I felt tremendous shame. I mean, here was I, the professional communicator, the professional educator, the professional therapist, and I was in an abusive relationship? Shameful. I found that I didn't want to tell any of my friends what was really going on, and I certainly wasn't going to tell anybody I was in business with or coworkers what was going on, because I was so full of shame that I should have been able to fix that relationship. I should have been able to make it better. And when I couldn't, surely it must be my fault. Now, I happened to be in the midst of teaching a group of women who were going to be working as volunteers in the local women's shelter about how to help the women who were coming to them. And halfway through this course, I broke down in tears and had to confess to these women that I myself was at that moment in a relationship that was abusive. So I was able at that time to let go of at least some of the shame that I had and instead accept the help of 15 brand new wonderful women friends. It was a transformational moment for me. I went to a place on Gabriola Island called Havens, where I learned a really important concept called how to set boundaries. They had at that time a workshop called Anger, Boundaries, and Safety. And I learned how to set boundaries and consequences, how to say no. And that was transformational for me as well. So I took that system and expanded it and developed it into a comprehensive system, which I now use to teach women how to break free from abusive relationships. Now, right now in Nova Scotia, we are still in the tail end of the COVID-19 isolation and restrictions. And in the Maritimes alone, in the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, there have been at least 3 murders that I know of, where a man who was in isolation with his partner killed his partner. And I know that there are many women and children too who find themselves totally trapped in their home. They can't leave their home, trapped with their abuser. It must be a horrible situation. So I wanted to put out this series of 3 free training videos in May as quickly as possible, so that it might be of help to at least somebody out there who could use a little bit of a hand right now. I once worked with a couple. I'll call him John. It wasn't his name, but I'll call him John. And his wife, I'll call her Judy. That wasn't her name either, but that's what I'll call them. They came to me for help because supposedly out of the blue, while they had had a good relationship, a few months prior, he had begun assaulting her, and neither one of them really knew why. And his wife had the courage to stand up and say, "No, you may not treat me like this anymore. I will help you. We will go for help. But if you don't go for help, I will leave you. And if you ever hit me again, our relationship is over. I will call the RCMP and charge you with assault." Now, fortunately, he had the good sense and the courage to listen to that, to hear it, and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't understand what's going on with me. Let's go for help." So when they came to me, it didn't take very long to suss out the fact that he had been himself sexually assaulted as a child. He had never told anybody. He'd never dealt with it. Something happened a few months previous that triggered him, triggered the memory of the past assault and the PTSD that he had because of that assault. And he took out his fears and his pain and his shame in anger and violence against his wife. So as soon as he was able to understand what was going on, for him, he was able to totally turn around things. And as far as I know, they're to this day living happily ever after. And that was able to happen. That transformation was able to happen because she said no. She issued an ultimatum. And it worked in this circumstance because his intentions were essentially good. He was loving and caring and did not want to hurt her. He didn't understand what was going on with him. But there are other kinds of relationships, other kinds of situations and circumstances in which I would not recommend issuing an ultimatum. So if you're in a relationship with somebody who likes to hurt you because he likes to see people in pain, or if you're in a relationship in which your abuser is more into dominance and control and cares more about being in control than he does about your feelings, if you don't feel safe, if there has ever been an assault that has been serious enough to put you in the hospital, or if you fear for your life, then I would suggest a different route, which we can talk about a little bit more later. But at this point, it's probably time for you to think about getting the hell out of Dodge, leaving the relationship. So part of the skill of being successful in breaking free from an abusive relationship is knowing when it's okay to stay and work on it and when you should leave for the sake of your safety and the safety of your children. Now, success in breaking free involves mastering a few skills, and it also involves things like making sure you've got a supportive community around you. I cannot say enough how important it is to have a community of supportive women friends who get you and understand you and will support you. It's also quite important that you reach out to a women's shelter. Either in your community or in your region, there is probably a shelter for women who are in abusive relationships. And there's also probably some sort of organization or agency that provides advocacy for women who are in abusive relationships. If you don't know where to find it, you could maybe start with a counseling service or start with a mental health outreach. The Canadian Mental Health Association, for example, will be aware of where those shelters would be. But I would say that reaching out to a shelter would be extremely important for you. That's what they're there for. That's what they're experts in. They know how to help you. Don't be afraid to reach out to your local police. Most RCMP detachments have someone on staff who is trained to understand and to work supportively with women who are in abusive relationships. So I want you to know that there is lots of help out there. There are lots of people who are ready, willing, and able to help you. They're just waiting for you to ask for the help. I'd suggest you learn about the cycle of violence and how to use it to help you. I would suggest that you learn how to make a safety plan. We don't have time in this video to go into those details. Now, in the next video, what I'd like to talk about is the kinds of barriers or obstacles or fears that you think might be in your path, and talk about ways in which you can overcome them. Now, you can help me with this. You can help me create the next video to be of most use for you if you would leave me some comments below. You'll see right below this video, you will see a place for you to leave comments. So would you please tell me a little bit about what you think are the top 2 barriers that might get in your way, that might get in the way of you breaking free. This would also be helpful for you because when we give voice to some of our deepest fears and concerns, somehow it takes away from your fears power to hurt you or to control you. And you might also be helping other women who might think, oh, I have the same kinds of concerns as this other person does. Well, maybe I'm not such a total screw up. Maybe I'm not alone in this. Maybe there is help for me. So you can help yourself, other women, and me if you would please leave some comments below. Now, if you have not yet registered, you need to register in order to receive the next 2 videos in this series. So please leave me your name and your email address in order to receive the following videos. I look forward to speaking with you again really soon. Bye.